recently I fit Corsa B coilovers on my K11 Micra, and I'm happy with them, right? They're good. The car sits very low, maybe a bit too low. If you take a closer look, you're going to see the car is squatting. So they're not perfect, and I wonder why that is. I mean, it's not as if we fit coilovers that were not meant to go on this car. There wouldn't really be an issue if I wasn't running massive 16-inch wheels, which, yes, they are massive for this car. And because I don't want to get smaller wheels, today we're going to be doing some adjustments to the suspension. And by adjustments, I mean refit these Almera springs, which we put on the car a while ago. But if you can't tell, they're no longer in the car. But we're not just going to fit them back like this, we're going to cut them. So I've never cut springs before, so I'm absolutely buzzing to cut springs and fit them to the car. It's just too low in the back. It's rubbing. It's actually undrivable. So the plan is fairly straightforward. The tyre is rubbing against the arch and the car is literally squatting, which I don't like. So we're just going to raise that up using those. I've removed the bolts holding in the shocks, and now we should be able to just drop the axle down a bit. There we go. Now, it's probably not hard to notice that these Corsa springs aren't really the right... These springs from the Corsa B are not the right size for the spring cups on the K11 chassis. Like, this here is the top bushing for the spring that goes in there, and this is the top of the Corsa spring. This right here is how the Corsa springs were in the car, and these are the Almera springs. Now, I assume these are a bit softer, so taking that into consideration, I actually don't know where we should start cutting them. Because if we cut them and we cut too much, we can't weld springs back together. So I'm going to gradually cut them and see how the car sits. So it might take a bit of time cutting them, putting them in, not being happy with that, taking them back out, cutting them again. But that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to stop waffling and get the grinder out. Also, despite nobody asking, the bottom is narrower, so we're going to cut that because this is the right size. So we're just going to get rid of this probably. So I've started off fairly sensibly. I only like cutting this much off each, and this is what they look like now. Put a bit of primer on them. Clearly they're not going to fit into the bushings as well as they did before, but I'm sure this will still be better than that thing there. So I've put both of the springs in. I'm now going to jack up the rear axle and connect the shocks. So the car is just about lifting off the jack stands, but the shocks seem to be aligned fairly well with... Hold on, maybe spoke too soon. There we go. So the bolts for the shocks are tight. It's literally just about lifting off the jack stand, but the question is, how does the wheel fit in the arch now? Well, we do need to put on the ground to get a proper result. Oh, well, we should probably go a bit lower, but yeah, no, we need to cut a bit more. All right, back up in the air. We're gonna literally just do the exact same thing again. Let's try this again. As much as I want to cut them a bit more, I think from a practical point of view, this is good. I mean, it looks acceptable, and you know, I want to have luggage in the car, people in the back of the car, so I think this is drivable and it doesn't look too bad. It's definitely a bit more peace of mind knowing that the car isn't constantly rubbing in the back, and also that the springs are closer to the correct size to fit in the spring cups of the rear axle and the chassis compared to those, right? I mean, seriously. I probably should have recorded this when I was still like putting the springs in, but they actually fit fairly well into the bushings. I don't know if you can see in there. Like, it doesn't even look bad. I think my work here is done for today.